Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilters Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 92, is piecing efficiency. But before we get to that, I don't have an opinion, but I did just hem the dog kerchief. And as I was doing it, it occurred to me that many of you may like to see how I do it. It gives such a beautiful edge with mitered corners. So let's take a break and I'll be right back. I'm using this 10-inch square as my example, and this technique not only works for hemming something like this, but it also works for the candle mats or anything where you want to take the backing and pull it up to be your binding so you don't have to do a real binding. But I start with pressing up the raw edge. Press it up all the way around. And then the next step is I press, see here it's just pressed up one, then you press it up one more. And when you have two sides together like this, here where they're both pressed up, now you open it back up so that you've just got the one press up. Fold this in, and then now fold it up again back to the center here. And you can see how it comes in at a miter. And then hit it with a hot iron. I usually do use a clapper, lay it on top, and then I use the clips to hold it till I can get to the sewing machine. So this is now what all your corners would look like. And you can see this miter line between those two clips. Let me take it off and maybe you can even see it better. Yeah, now it's popping up. But then you go to your sewing machine and sew this all the way down. And you've got these perfectly beautiful mitered corners. So that's how I do it. I hope this helps anybody who does not know how to do it. You can also do it wider, like if you're doing a placemat and you don't want the little 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and you want a whole inch, just instead of where I just folded it up this much, you can press it up, way more. But the theory is still the same. You fold this up the same amount, and you do the same function, it's just wider. So it makes beautiful placemats too. So I hope this helps you. Let's get to our piecing efficiency. Last week we talked about productivity, and I said I don't judge myself by how many quilts I complete. But what I do care about is efficiency. It's the same thing with binder clips and safety pins. I don't close the safety pins because the next time I need to use it, I have to open it. I don't close the binder clips when I'm done with them because before I use it again, I have to open them up again. So I'm always going for efficiency. And in piecing my half, what did I call them? Half 16 patches or split 16 patches, the orange and the green. The first thing I did was figure out what I needed. And this is the actual back of an envelope that I used to figure out what I needed. And I knew I needed 2 of the half square triangles with a green, 2 greens together, 2 orange with a half square triangle, and 2 oranges. And that's my 16 patches. So I like to piece several at a time. So I take my half square triangles that I am now going to put together with my green squares, and I'll just stack them all up. And as you can see, I have the orange orientated the way it's supposed to be, and actually that's kind of red, but I did go orange to red, and the green in the spot it's supposed to be, so that I can very efficiently grab one, pair it together, grab one, pair it together, and keep going on down the line. If I get to something that's the same square or I don't like them together, then I just grab a different green. But what I don't do is have these willy-nilly. I have these in the proper orientation. So if you don't do that first, you may grab one like this, and that's going to be wrong because it has to be like this. Or you could do like this, and you're thinking, well, I have green to green, so that's right. Well, it's not, because your angle is this way and your angle has to be this way. So I take that step to stack these up in the correct orientation so that when they get in my pile, they're correct. So I do that with all the units. After I get the first two, I should say two, the first pair done, then I would do the two greens, the two oranges, and the half square triangle with the orange. And I have them all stacked up, and I would put them next to my sewing machine like this, and just piece, 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 all of them straight through, chain piecing. And then I would take the pairs together, which would be the pair of the half square triangle and the green, and the two greens, and put them together. And I always try to make them so that they look visually appealing. And you can get a lot that look good, but you always end up with something like this that's left. I'm not going to have these two right next to each other, kitty-cornered from each other. I'm not going to have the same fabric on top of each other. Here's another same fabric. I don't usually get 3 doubles like this, but you do often get pieces that you don't have any other pieces that they work with. So then you do have to piece something. So I would pull this out and say, what other 4 pieces can I put here to make the block? So I always have a few little stragglers, but I find this method works for me. Now, it may not work for everybody. What's your other alternative? Well, your other alternative is laying each block out separately. So you lay out a block that you like, visually appealing, in the correct orientation, and then I do the same system whenever I'm piecing any block. I always put the one on the right on top of the one on the left, and I just do that all the way through. And then I stack them up in order, and I go to my sewing machine, oops, with them all in order. And I know that because I always do it in the same way, I know I'm sewing them all down this side. And then after they're sewn, I've got sets of 2s. I put the 2s together, and then I've got 4 rows, and I can sew those together. And we talked about the pressing directions for barn raising, and that's how I'm laying this out. So the pressing, you have to do half one way, half the other way. So many times I just make the rows and pin them together before I decide which pile that's going to go in, pressing A or pressing B. But the whole idea is, to me, like I said, I don't care how many quilts I finish, but I do care that when I'm piecing, I'm efficient. So that's my thing. If you don't care to be efficient, you don't have to. It's your hobby. You get to do it how you like to do it. This is what works for me, so I wanted to share it with you. So that's our episode today. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, happy sewing.